Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Trish Murray.
Actually, thank you, Robbie. I was down the back and I thought, oh, I better pay attention. Somebody really fabulous is coming onto stage. And then I remembered our conversation. Matt, do you remember that? It was like 10 months ago and you said, Trish, showcase. It's all getting a bit stale, a bit same, you know? It needs some style. It needs some sex appeal. Can you help us out? Anyway, here I am. You know, I got a little distracted then also because I clearly did not read the invite. I didn't realise this was a black and white with a pop of red theming. But you've done it so well. Well done. And then there's a few of you who have taken that and just run with your own thing, like Aqua, that, you see, this is the strong colour for spring season 2015. You so know, girl, you trailblazer. I'm not even counting, but it is 26 days away till spring. Please. Anyway, speaking of sex appeal, that woke you lot up, didn't it? What do these three people have in common? Bill Clinton, Kim Kardashian, and Gandhi. I was invited to a dinner party last weekend, which was such a fabulous surprise. I mean, dinner parties. Why did we stop having those? It wasn't like a friend Facebook request. It was a real opportunity to connect. Anyway, a few champagnes in, we started talking about if you could have your own dinner party, who would you invite? And then we kind of beefed it up a bit and said, okay, absolutely anybody, dead or alive, famous or not, but you can only invite 8. I tell you what, it was the most fascinating conversation that followed. Now, you've probably worked out by now I'm a bit of an interactive girl, and on your tables, we're going to recreate the dinner party. Please grab a napkin, grab a pen. I'm not sure where the champagne is. Clearly, we'll talk about that later. But if you could all write down at least one person you would have at your dinner party. Remember the rules. There are none. There's no wrong. So they can be famous or not, dead or alive. Who's that one person you would just love to have an intimate dinner with? Now, if you're really clever and your brain's going crazy, no, that's right, this is not television. Really write it. Really do. Really do. I'm watching. If you're really clever, you've got at least 2 people. You're writing down 2. But so we don't get lost in this, maximum 3. But just 1. There's no wrong. I know a lot of you are going, oh, I don't know. We're not judging. No one's judging you. Now, who'd like to share who they've written down? Yes. David Attenborough. Yes, he is so on my list. What a guy. Yes. Know what sort of parties you're having, don't we? Yes. By the way, that's a stripper, if you're wondering, and he's masking as an actor. Who cares? Yes. Gore Vidal. Okay, I'm feeling very embarrassed, but clearly everyone's got him. Anyway, moving on.
Rowan Atkinson and Jeff Robertson.
Oh, fabulous. Lots of humour. Yes? Jamie Oliver. You don't even need to cook for that one, do you? Fabulous. Did somebody say Hitler? That's a showstopper. Yes?
2 favourites for sure, Trish Murray and Al Pacino.
Wow. You actually look a bit like Al Pacino. Hello? Yes, way down the back.
Manson and Branson.
Fabulous. Just like you, my list was full of diversity, people with completely different experiences and backgrounds, from animal activists that I'm just in awe of to people from the silver screen that are so charismatic. There was even a politician, just one. But what joined them all together was this common thread, which I can only describe best to you as presence. You see, when you have presence, you've got platform. People are listening to you. They want to know what you're going to say. And when you've got presence, you've got friends and fans and followers. They want to be where you are. And when you've got presence, you've got trust. It's an easy sell. I have a dream. Presence. It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Presence. Happy birthday, Mr. President. I mean, she oozed presence. So, I can hear your little voice inside your head right now saying, yeah, but those people, they're born with presence. They've got the X factor. It's in their genes. The X factor. We're obsessed with that, aren't we? X factor. We've even got a TV show. Do you have the X factor? I mean, born with presence. What a load of Prada that is. You see, when was the last time you went to the hospital to see a newborn baby? I'm like, oh, so beautiful. Like, wait a minute. This baby's got X factor. Presence. You see, it starts off with this, with style. I'm not talking about fashion or trends of the season. I'm talking about your signature look. You've got to really own who you are. Do you know what your signature look is? And swagger. When somebody with presence walks into the room, we all notice. They're kind of like, I don't know, like, I am a rock star on the inside. And state. Regardless of what's going on, they are focused, both mentally and physically in state. Leighton Hewitt, like they'll use their body. Leighton Hewitt, for him to be in state and get right in the moment, you'll know. Come on! When he does that, it drives his opponents at the other end of the court crazy. They like mimic him. And all that does is get him more and more in state. Usain Bolt, he is the fastest man on the planet. 100, 200, 400. He literally bolts down the finish line. And when he gets to the end, he does the lightning bolt. Presence. It's about now, some of you are having a aha moment. Thank you, Oprah. You're having awareness. You realise that you've been in the presence of people who've already got this going on. In fact, there are people in the room already with presence. You see, this stuff makes you noticeable. $200 billion, wrap your head around that figure, billion, is spent on Australian organisations and companies for online presence. We also spend $900 million on TV presence with advertising. So I have to ask, how much money is your organisation spending on people presence? Unilever, they are an international goods consumer company, right? Think Dove. They ran a poll globally and discovered that 4% of women consider themselves beautiful. Now, why is that ridiculous statistic so important when we're talking about presence? I want you to go back to the list that you have already started building. What percentage do you have as women on your list? Actually, who has a woman? Nice. But it's not good enough. You see, to have presence, you simply must have the skill of confidence. I'm not talking about arrogance. You're not better than anybody else. It's self-confidence. Just on that, the Today Show, there's a male host and a female host. Now, the male host, Karl Stefanovic, was really frustrated with all the sexism being heaped on his female co-host. So he wore the same suit 2 days in a row. Outrageous. Then it was 3. A whole week went past and there wasn't even a ripple. In fact, Karl Stefanovic wore the same cheap Burberry blue knockoff suit for a whole year and nobody noticed. Now, I'm talking about an audience of 300,000 people live to air every single day and nobody noticed. Now, when Karl talks about this, he says, look, I get judged on my interview skills, the banter that he has with his co-hosts, and his appalling sense of humour, right? Lisa Wilkinson, regardless of the importance of her interview, people comment on her hair and her outfit. I know, right? That is so unfair. You, me, us girls, we are judged so much more harshly on our outward appearance than our male colleagues. It's unbelievable. But I do have to ask you something. Who do you think's judging us? Do you think it's the men in the room, ladies? What about your husbands or your boyfriends? No, it's not that guy. You see, Ohio State University, they ran a survey and discovered that men think about sex 19 times a day. They think about food 18 times a day. Followed not too far behind that, sleep. They think about sleep 11 times a day. This might explain a lot. But that's not giving them a lot of time to have a little conversation in their head about our chosen outfit, now is it? Not unless you look like a sexy hot pink donut lying in bed. And you're in trouble. Come naked, bring food. No. I'm sad to say it's women. It's women are other women's harshest critic. Shame. Shame on us. So, I've witnessed this with 30 years in the fashion industry over and over. I've worked behind the scenes, in front. I work at the business end. And just as an example, a model on stage doing her thing, the ladies in the front row, they can't help themselves. They're full of commentary. And it goes like, Kimmy, look at me, look at her. I'm telling you now, all these models, they've got cellulite. It's disgusting. Wait till she gets really close. See, she's there, cellulite, they're all hideous. What is with women in fashion parades? I think they think they're watching television. But you're not going to believe it. The models have ears. They can hear you. So who are these women? These femme fatales in the front row? Let's expose them. Who are they? Well, the women commenting like that have no self-love. You see, the model reminds her of what she's not. So she's kind of like attacking herself. She is attacking the man in the mirror, so to speak. It's an inside job, and you need self-respect. Respect. Wow. Mick Fanning. He's a world champion surfer. You know him now. he survived a shark attack. I mean, who can forget that footage, right? He already had presence in the surfing fraternity. Because he's such a good styler guy, he now has global presence. You see, when he was first attacked and he was reefed out of the boat, his first interview, and I'm talking seconds after, was about what just happened. When he got to the shore, which was only minutes later, his conversation changed. It was one of gratitude. He started thanking everybody. He thanked the jet boats. He thanked the rescue boat. He thanked the announcers on the safety of the sand. But his biggest thanks went to his rival, Julian Wilson. This was no ordinary surfing competition. This was for world titles. So, as Mick said, this was a flight or fight situation. And you never know what you're going to do when you're placed in that situation. But Julian Wilson, showed his true integrity. He didn't just swim towards me, he swam towards an attacking shark. Such incredible respect. Now, by Mick giving that enormous respect to his number one rival, he didn't just say, I now have global presence. He said, Jules, you're coming with me. I'm not expecting us to create a shark attack situation, right, to get presence. But I want to ask you, in your next flight or fight situation, whether it's at work or at home, who are you going to be? Who's going to show up? I was born in Singapore. This might be why I've got this sort of shopping gene thing. Anyway, I was born in the British military hospital. My father was a colonel in the Australian Army. He was also a Vietnam vet, Signals Corps 547, based in Nui Dat during the war. Now, has anyone had an experience with Vietnam vets? Has anyone lived with one? Okay. Well, Signals Corps is, they're code breakers. So my dad basically was a spy and in charge of the entire unit during the war. Those of you who've had an experience with Vietnam vets will all agree with me, it's very character building. You see, I learnt two things from this man, and the first thing was fear. I was scared to death of him. He was strong, courageous, and fearless. He would, there were two colours in his world. There was black and white, life or death. That man can sense I'm going to lie, and I haven't even opened my mouth yet. He's like... But the second thing I learnt from him was self-worth. You see, having that influence in your life, I too had become somewhat fearless and courageous. Walking the talk mantras he'd have and his gravitas. He used to say to me, Nil bastardo carborundum, Trish. I'd be, maybe going to a maths test at 11 years old and leave the car and I'd go, thanks, Dad. Now, that's Latin and translated means don't let the bastards wear you down. I won't let algebra beat me. So I grew up knowing I was worth it. But you know what? I know so are you. Being around people like that and in the forces, they're not only incredibly influential, they have a name for it. It's called command presence. See, the lives of other men and women depend on them having incredible presence. It can't be wishy-washy. So, when you unpack presence, which is what I do, it's here that you become noticeable, but it's here you become memorable. Now, this isn't a one-off situation, bang, you've got presence. You have to be consistent. You've got to know what it is that you stand for. you have to be congruent. You need to align. All your values need to align with what it is that you are standing strong for. And you need compassion. People don't want you to fake it. They are onto you. They want authenticity. It has to be real. So, who are you going to be and show up? And why is it important? Because when you've got presence, you've got platform. People are listening. And when you've got presence, you've got friends and fans and followers. And when you've got presence, it's an easy sell. They trust you. So imagine now that you are working on this. I mean, you are going to be heckled. People with great presence are heckled all the time. Think of Oprah. Oprah Winfrey was in 1980s and she said, I think I want to go from radio to having my own talk show. There probably would have been other opinions about that. There would have been like, Oprah, you're a woman, you're black, you were born into poverty, what have you got to offer? What about Bill Clinton? It's about university when he said, I think I want to run for presidency one day. Billy, mate, you're a saxophone player. Stick to music. These incredible men and women get heckled by the best of them all the time. I love the Muppets. You think of those two guys up in the balcony, Waldorf and Slatter. The whole time the Muppets are on stage, they're heckling them, calling out. What about when you go to the football and you're up in the grandstand and the people, what they're saying to the players is unbelievable. Like, you idiot, you should have passed the ball. Oh, what was he thinking? Idiot. Man, if I was down there on that playing the game, I'd be like, hey, you, why don't you come down from the safety of the grandstand and play the game? Or you might be a bit more zen and a bit more love of all mankind. And there's another way. You could be this. You could be, thank you for your feedback, but I'm not even listening. But thank you so much for your feedback because it tells me so much more about you than it does about me. Do you remember the ladies at the fashion parade in the front row? No, me neither. So let's go back to your list, your dinner party list, and look at the first person that you invited to your party. And now I'm going to tell you who it needs to be. It needs to be you. You need to be present at your own party. Now, wouldn't it be a beautiful thing, ladies and gentlemen, if the other 8 people that you invited to your party, if they requested your presence at theirs? You see, presence gives you platform. Presence gives you friends and fans and followers. And presence gives you trust. It's an easy sell. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of presence.